Hello, everyone. Today, we are joined by Mr. Faisal Aftab, the co-founder and general partner of Zayn Capital and managing partner of Zayn BitRate Equity Fund. Mr. Aftab, it is wonderful to have you on board with us. Today,
Pleasure
we
being
would
here.
love to, talk about your achievements and what you have contributed to the world of finance. There is no doubt that, you are indeed a pioneer when it comes to smart investments, of course. So let's just get into it. Uh, Mr. Aftab, walk the community through who you are and your journey into becoming one of the most prolific investors with notable investment calls in Pakistan. And furthermore, give us an insight into your success with Zain Capital.
Thanks. First of all, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure. So I'm a Pakistani American. Grew up in primarily California. Lived in Pakistan for a couple of years through high school, and then went back to the U.S. and was there till about 5 years ago, until when I decided to move back. And while I was there, I was in the traditional management consulting and finance, and then I ended up becoming an entrepreneur where I launched two companies. One was in the satellite and cable realm, which was basically HBO Go type services on Dish Network, Rogers Cable, and B Sky B for South Asian content. And then subsequently, there was a platform which was an IPTV platform for South Asians called Jadoo TV. I went in and partnered with them to create a content acquisition company, and then created a lot of content partnerships with those. Intel Capital came in, Eros, the Bollywood company came in, and then I moved on to other endeavors. Also started investing heavily, I would say probably around 2010, which was around the first time I went entrepreneurial. So became an LP in one of the largest, now one of the largest seed funds in the world, 500 startups, when they were raising their fund one. So started investing, started actually investing directly, and through them learned a lot of the investment thesis through that. At the same time, I'd also invested in hedge funds, and I started investing in direct portfolio. So the combination of the three taught me cycles, long-term cycles, you can say. So in my opinion, I think it's you only win once you've lost money, because then you realize that history rhymes a lot. It may not repeat, but every 10 years you'd see it rhyme. And there's so my style of investing is, looking at what's transpired in history and try to project and extrapolate what's happening in the future. And in the world of VC, ultimately, we're trying to predict as best as we can what the world will look like in 10 years. So my journey to Pakistan was based very simply on when I was basically a mid-career professional in the U.S. when the global financial crisis hit in 2008, and that really opened up my eyes, because that was my first time going through a major financial crisis and economic crisis. And that's when I learned that, hey, wait, this has happened before in 1998. It happened previously as well, and more than likely it'll happen again. And then so in that quest to trying to figure out when this would happen again, I realized that there's also another phenomenon, that every time there's a contraction in terms of an economic crisis, there's also something called growth that happens subsequently. And each time new economies come online, as investors now looking for, effectively a crisis is when you run out of growth in the economies where you're investing. And I'm talking about the big bulge bracket banks and major investors. And then new economies become worthy of credit expansion. And so 1998, 2000 crisis, you saw 2000, the Eurozone come online with Germany and France's balance sheet. And countries like Italy, Spain, they were brought online and credit expansion. 2008, you saw the same thing happen with the BRICS coming online after that contraction, where Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa effectively led the growth in the world, but it was primarily driven by credit expansion. So looking ahead, around 2012, 10 to 12, I realized that, wait a minute, there's something else happening. There's a convergence of technology and finance in the form of what you may call blockchain or cryptocurrencies, and regulation, which we could refer to as FATCA in the US, FATF globally, and OECD Common Reporting Standards. This all gradually started coming up. And as we saw that convergence, I realized, wait, the next billion users of the next 11 seem to be where the credit expansion will play out when the next crisis hits. And so with that in mind, I decided to venture out to Pakistan around 2016-17. Did kind of poked around to figure out the economy and understand the business cycles here. Then eventually ended up doing Fund One, partnering with Laxon Group. They're one of the major groups in Pakistan. And then basically from there, did Fund One in 2020 after the pandemic hit. In fall, I realized it's time for a brand new thesis because the new cycle has begun. And so at that point, then went out and launched my own fund, which is basically Zayn Capital. It's part of Zayn Capital, is a platform. Basically, I have a fund. There's another debt fund, which my namesake Faisal Chaudhry, he oversees. But effectively, what the objective is that I do the equity side, he does the debt side in companies that we invest in, especially for fintech companies. They need credit lines. So the debt side helps structure those. Went out, raised a fund, started investing in Pakistan around May, June, and effectively, haven't looked back since then. It's been a great journey. The good thing is I am a global macro person, so I do follow what the Fed says. So when the Fed said in October 2021, and incidentally, that was around the same time, VC, Bitcoin, all these markets are fairly correlated because they're risk-on environments, environment-based markets. So at that point, it was quite evident that, okay, the 2020 to 2021 bubble effectively is over, and markets will be different for a couple of years, and then the whole thing is going to start again. So that's the journey so far.
Your assistance to Pakistan startups and early stage ventures is honestly praiseworthy. You have undoubtedly climbed the ranks by promoting startups and ecosystems and have developed a reputation as a prolific investor in the realm of global macros. Your investments, in early stage ventures, the likes of NayaPay, PostEX, Bazaar Technologies, KTrade, and numerous others, in order to give them the recognition they deserve, are commendable beyond words. Walk us through how you feel looking back at all that you've not only achieved, but also contributed back to the community.
Yeah, so I don't think it's my achievement. I think it's the actual speaks to the volume of the quality of the people in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first time since the inception of Pakistan that capital and investors are betting on people without asking for collateral. So historically, if you wanted to start a business, you should have some significant collateral to put up and get a loan to value of 50% of that and go start an industry, right? This is the first time we're actually backing people that don't need to put up anything apart from the human resource and energy and capability.
Yeah.
So I think what every company you've named and numerous others in my portfolio, or the portfolio of all the other funds in Pakistan, this actually shows you the true human resource potential of Pakistan. And I'm really excited on what's there to come in the future. So whether the main thing, our job is the main thing here is to identify the teams and the timing in terms of what they're trying to achieve and execute. So we can kind of see a bird's eye view and then identify the teams and their idea and say, okay, we want to bet on this one right now. And even the ones that we don't bet on today, sometimes it's because the timing of that particular venture is not today, maybe 2 years from now. For example, a lot of the EV or ESG plays, I think those will be very big in 2024, 25, versus like the fintech plays or the B2C and B2B plays that played out in 2020 and 2021. But it's really at the end of the day, the founders and the people, that we're backing. We're fortunate enough to be present in Pakistan at this time where, such an amazing pool of smart young individuals exist that I think are going to build the future of digital brands of Pakistan. And these will be big names by 2030.
I'm glad you brought up Pakistan in your conversation. I'm sure you're aware of the emerging talent, obviously, from Pakistan, and how PathLaunch has offered a glorious platform to bridge the gap between startups and investors. What is your feedback on this amazing contribution by PathLaunch? And moreover, how much potential do you see with regards to growth in the Pakistani tech industry?
Yeah, so the PathLaunch it's been phenomenal. I mean, think of it this way, that it is every Pakistani worldwide, whether you're in Pakistan, whether you're abroad, we no matter what we do, no matter what we achieve anywhere in the world, at the core of it, we're all fairly patriotic, and that's very
Yeah.
evident when a Pakistan cricket match happens, right?
Mm.
Where around the world, everybody just jumps on, and so while we're divided, but we're also very united at times. So I think what PathLaunch has done, it's effectively leveraging WhatsApp and technology. They've created a pool of well-wishers of the Pakistan tech ecosystem into one repository, and effectively created a platform where all of us can sit, collaborate, share ideas, share thoughts. It really it's I think in just a span of not even I think barely 2 years now,
Yeah.
they've become kind of the hub of everybody connecting, whether you're living in the UK, US, the diaspora, the you know population in Pakistan. It's basically connecting everyone, and it's a great place to exchange ideas, exchange thoughts, and a lot of companies have gotten funded from there, right? Even fund a lot of the funds have connected with other funds from there.
Yeah.
So I
Definitely.
always look forward to exchanging ideas in PathLaunch. Ali Fahad and the team have been just phenomenal in what they brought together. To me, it's a key part of the ecosystem now in Pakistan.
We observed that many new small and medium-sized firms are, rising with incredible potential for substantial expansion and are now traveling to Park Launch. What guidance would you provide them that would, prove helpful for them?
Yeah, so I think the key is in guidance. Pakistan is an extremely undervalued asset overall, and the digital economy in Pakistan is just very nascent. I mean, it's just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
The only advice I would give them is the same advice that, or my own lesson that I learned over the years when I first moved back to Pakistan. Rather than trying to hit the ground running, I give it some time to pause. And I'm very Americanized in the way I think and my mindset. And so, and I did some businesses remotely from while I was in the U.S. as an investor, and I realized that the cycles and behavior patterns in Pakistan are very different. So you have to be cognizant while you use the lag effects of whatever's been done there in developed markets is going to happen here. So you have that gap. So you do try to identify those but you also have to be cognizant of the fact that we have different receivable cycles,
Yeah.
different patterns of collusion in Pakistan. So as an investor, the job is to identify integrity, the best founders, execution ability, but then also to put the right governance and controls in place. So simply, I would, for example, I don't ever, if you see a lot of my founders, um, I don't necessarily feel comfortable backing someone exactly like myself
Yeah.
because I know how little I know when it comes to being street smart in Pakistan. So therefore, I like a pair of somebody that's come from abroad, but there's also somebody that's lived and grown up and has had to hustle in Pakistan because it's not an easy journey. So that combo of founders I found better versus somebody that's worked at 2 3 brands and is trying to attempt that in Pakistan. You can build a bubble, but you can't build a company with foundations if you just do either or. Combination to me has been the best. So I would say that look, it's a great economy, it's a great market to invest in, great future economy. Right now, it's not the best economy, but in the future, I think it's going to be it'll be in the G20 in the future, whether it's 10 years or 15
Awesome.
years. Uh, and it's by the way, I'll tell you why. If you just look at global regulation,
Yeah.
there's no doubt, and you can just look at what India has done or what China has done.
Mm.
There's no doubt that cash is going to be eradicated from the system. The second cash moves to digital cash, that's the same as like the black economy being forced to go into the banking system. So this economy, which is 350 odd billion dollars in terms of GDP, only measures the financialized portion of the economy that can be traced. The actual economy is probably closer to around 6 to 800 billion. So our debt to GDP ratio today, which sits at 80% or something, in reality is probably at 40%. If you were to count the black economy, and that is an asset because as that gets documented, you can kind of take the debt away gradually. So, but again, those nuances is very important to understand for Pakistan. If you're looking at the TAM and you're only going to look at the documented GDP figures, you're going to miss out on a big opportunity. So all these things you have to take into account for a country like Pakistan. And I think smart investors worldwide, the investors that invested in China and India early, ended up getting significant returns because they were cognizant that to understand these economies, frontier market economies, you have to not apply the same sense as developed economies. And the growth potential is immense if you can navigate the risk correctly.
That's perfect, Mr. Aftab. I feel like this is going to mark the end of the interview. It was lovely talking to you. It was lovely to get some, insight from somebody who is a prodigy nonetheless in the world of finance. Thank you so much for your time and for the valuable knowledge that you provided as well.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Faisal. Have a good day.